And she said, really? I said, oh, yes. So she's excited. And you know, I get excited too.
Yes, yes, yes,
I like to
yes.
see people happy. You know, I like to see people happy and smiling and all.
Yeah. Maybe we can set up a Zoom conference with them.
Right.
Look at
Yeah.
y'all. Oh, see, y'all just made my little heart go. Y'all just made my little. Y'all just made my little heart pound. Y'all see,
Oh,
look
you
at y'all
so
knowing how to
sweet.
host a meeting. Oh, make me proud. My babies are growing up.
But I gotta learn now. I really got.
Yeah, me and you both, because I haven't had I'm in the second group. So I haven't
Hi,
had
this is Miss
mine.
Purefoy.
Hi, Miss Purefoy.
So I haven't been able to do anything with Miss Freddie because she's busy doing different things. So we'll get it together though.
Yeah, it'll take place.
Right. Uh-huh.
Miss Tiggs, how are you? I don't think I've met you.
I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And Miss Jones, how are you?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Nice to meet you. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. And how are y'all affiliated with the group? What do y'all, are y'all members or?
I'm a senior companion.
Senior companion. You guys are senior companions.
Senior companion. And I'm over to my client's house now.
So what we're doing is slowly phasing in our volunteers to go back seeing their clients. So Ms. Jones is one of them. She's one of our first phases. We'll slowly be doing that and hopefully by September get everybody back in with their clients. But they all provide companionship for clients that are at home, trying to help them stay independent and helping provide that assistance for caregivers.
That is so nice. Such a great program.
It really is.
I was telling Shannon, I was telling Shannon a while back, I wish I'd known about it. I, for 14 years, ran a nonprofit that I founded called the Remembering Mom Foundation.
Oh.
And we provided grief support to families who endured the death of a mother. However, during the course of our service, we would oftentimes have families refer their moms to us even before they died. And we would do like last wishes. And sometimes I wanted to help alleviate that burden of for the family so they could get out and get rest and go to the grocery store without having to sit there all the time. And I was like, there was a way, you know, but we did our best to just kind of be present. And but y'all would have really come in handy if I'd known about it.
We have 72 volunteers. So.
Oh, wow.
I lost my companion December the 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that was while we were in pandemic. Yeah.
But I know you made her, life go real good.
Yeah, I think I was with her for 6 years.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's like family.
It was just like family.
Right. That's like my client. She's just like family.
Oh.
Yeah, she'll call me, and also she'll text me. Sometimes it'd be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, and she's so sweet, little bitty sweet baby.
Yes, indeed.
I'm in my client.
I'd be glad when we can really kind of go out because we always love to go out. We always go into the library and we go to the gym and go to North Park. We always, so I'm thinking maybe next month we'll be able to kind of get out a little, you know.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Freddie.
All right.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Tired.
How was your son's birthday?
You remember great grandson?
Oh, okay. How was the birthday?
Oh, it was wonderful. They had a pool party.
Oh my goodness.
Real nice. Yeah. Just that heat.
Good morning.
I know it.
Hey, who just got on? Who just got on?
Good morning.
Dorothy, you be quiet.
I love you too.
I love you too, Dorothy, but you be quiet. I've been getting your message, what you've been saying about me.
Uh-oh.
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 I'm
We
gonna
gotta
have
play.
to chill.
We gotta play nice.
Dorothy, how things been going?
It's been going very well. I've just been taking it easy and doing my church activities and stuff, and seeing that I'm.
You gonna need them when I see you. When I see you, you gonna need them.
I'm just glad that things have started working out. Aren't you glad too?
Yeah, it's very good, but that still doesn't change things for you and I.
When we come back, I'm in charge of that table. Mm-hmm.
Well, you can have that table. I done fired everybody on the table, including myself.
Oh, you are too much. I miss you.
I miss you too. I miss all of you all.
I do too. I miss y'all.
Oh, Lord, you're a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Where's Miss Smith? Where's Gerald?
She should be on.
Miss Gerald, where are you? Come on, Miss Lucille, sit over here with me. Come sit over here with me, Miss Lucille.
No, you don't, Lucille.
She already done been on. She met Melissa a while ago. She's coming out
really?
of the shower. Now she's combing her hair.
Oh.
At least let her get all pretty, gosh.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Oh.
Y'all gonna give me a hard time. Y'all messing around already. You know it's just me today.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Hi, Miss Kelly.
Is Shannon today, Melissa?
She'll be in, but my other two partners in crime are on vacation.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, so it's just
everyone deserves a vacation to get up under some of the stress.
Yeah, they do. So one of our fearless leaders in Morocco right now.
And where?
Remember, she went to Morocco.
Oh, I know who that is.
Y'all see Miss Lucille?
We do.
Yeah.
Hi, Miss Kelly. You have a hand up?
Yes, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk to me after the meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Should I just stay on?
Yeah, just stay on. When everybody gets off, just stay on.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Miss Gregor.
Hi, Melissa.
Melissa?
Yes.
Okay.
She's our assistant director.
Yes.
And that's, there you are. See, they see you, Miss Lucille.
Morning, Mrs.
And I hope y'all got my message. Ladies, did y'all get my message to have a pen and paper?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Okay, get a pen and paper while we're waiting where everybody else gets on.
Yeah, I always
Good morning. Good morning.
Don't we, Miss Lucille?
What is this consistent of, Melissa?
We're going to be doing some exercises, so I just need y'all to have some pen and paper.
Okay. Melissa, you do me on the phone, right?
Huh?
Well, we stay in it. That's all right.
Okay, whoa. I need one at a time. But now who? Who was asking?
Melissa, do you see me on the phone?
Miss Henry?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The meeting hadn't really started. We're just saying hi and, So I want you to stay here with me. You look so pretty. You must have known you was going to be on camera. Look pretty. Look pretty.
Miss Gregor, are you using your tablet?
Yes, I am.
Yay.
Uh-huh.
With the help of my daughter.
And she's the one that's going to
Well,
be
that's
giving us
good.
who's our special guest. That lady right there. Mhm. In a few minutes. Not now, but she's gonna be.
She will speak before the.
Right, in the meeting.
Good morning. This is Janie Martinez.
Hi.
Hi,
Yep.
Janie.
Ms. Martinez.
Hi, Janie.
Hi, Janie.
Hi.
Good morning.
What's the J
This lady right here, her name is Dorothy too.
Who's on the fire tablet? Remember to change your name.
It's amazing how all this stuff.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Remember,
This
if
is
you
Carmen
can,
Knighton.
Summer's still coming.
Right.
remember if you can, change your name so we can see who's on
You'll
the
come
phone.
back. Okay.
go on?
Olivia Holmes.
Miss Olivia.
So much more.
Mary Williams.
8.
Mary Bashir.
Oh.
Hello, Miss Bashir.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm okay. This is Annie, Jean's cousin at your church.
Yes.
8, 7, 1, 5, 8, 1, 3. Oh, why are you not going in now?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
We used to have 2 men. Now we have 1.
Only one
We're
name.
on 1 now. So hopefully we can get
Okay.
more men in. Hopefully.
But last year there were 7 men. How many years?
Melissa. Melissa,
They
Yes,
moved
ma'am.
back
I have a
Oklahoma.
question to ask.
Okay.
Are we invited to Fair Park on the 1st of July for the drive-through?
Remember we had
Right.
You know something I don't know, so I don't know.
Okay.
Your boss
This
is
I will find
Good
out.
morning.
She's like my assistant. She's my assistant director. And the
This
one
is
that
Leila
was
McClinton.
here,
Good morning.
she was my
Good
coordinator.
morning.
And Melanie was on vacation.
Good morning.
Yep.
Hi, Miss Lucy.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
I can't see y'all, but I got a new phone. I'm still working on it.
Good. That's good.
Okay.
This lady here, we can't see her because she's on the phone. So wave at them again, Miss Lucy.
Who has a fire tablet, has a hand raised? Who's that?
Here comes our daughter Marie.
Oh, Lord, there's a lot
What
of
did you say, Melissa?
Somebody has a
she's
fire
busy. I
tablet.
told them that you
Okay,
were
wait.
busy.
1, 8.
Somebody has a fire tablet and has her hand up. Who is that?
No, it's just a mistake, Miss Sasa.
Okay, Miss Asa, thank you.
It hasn't started yet. Come in.
Why didn't they let me in?
Has Melanie come back yet?
Oh no,
Nope.
she won't be back until next week.
They're talking about Melody. She's on vacation.
And Constance is on vacations as of yesterday.
2, 4, 6. 2, 4. Yeah, that's the problem right there.
So you hold it down the fort.
I am.
7, 1.
Are we doing
8,
the fair park this year?
3.
Someone just asked me
0.
that, and I don't know. I have no clue what all of that is about. So as soon as I do, I will let you know.
What was the question?
Hmm. Mm. I think it's 2 different questions, Melissa.
Okay.
1, 8,
Let's see.
3,
0.
Yeah, I'm talking about the yearly fair park thing that we used to do.
Oh, that I don't know.
Since we wide open.
Yeah.
I think the fair park is getting ready for the
8, 7, 1. 5,
yeah, the fair park
8,
is getting ready for the fair in
1.
September. So they said they're going to close it down July the 17th.
For the vaccination shots.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Miss Pipkin.
Hey, baby doll, how y'all doing over there?
We're doing all right.
All right now.
Dance off thing was on the news I think it was last night. The winner of the dance contest.
I saw him. He danced good. He was a good
down.
Real quick, who has the last 4 digits of 9139 on the phone? 91 214 281 9139. Who is that? Anybody? Nobody's gonna claim it?
No.
It's not me.
Now I see Gerald.
I'm 3795.
Okay. We'll try to figure that one out.
Good morning, Willie Williams.
Good morning.
Williams.
Morning. Good morning, Wanda Leonard.
Good morning. This is Leticia Ard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, honey.
Good morning.
You still let my butt get in.
Good morning, Maria Gonzalez.
1, 8,
Gonzalez.
3,
Gonzalez.
0.
Got you. Got it. We got it down. Thank you.
It's on Harry Hines.
Good morning.
Close to parking.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That was the special guest.
Good morning, Lydia Flores.
Ya mero.
Good morning.
Ay, gracias. Gracias a Dios.
Good morning, Lydia. Good morning, Teresa Matthews.
Good morning. Some clips in my hair.
Okay.
I think I got everybody. Wow.
Good morning.
Yay. I think I got everybody.
Melissa,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to stay with you as long as I can. I've got an appointment this morning, so if you see that I leave, I'm telling you why.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like we're using up some of our time saying good morning.
Miss Honey, stop. Stop, Miss Honey.
All right, ladies, I need y'all to go ahead and mute your mute your phones. So if you can mute your phones, please.
Please.
Oh.
Remember, it's the tap your screen and it's the little microphone.
Yeah, I see it.
Yep.
I believe it's *6 if you're on a phone. Well, everybody can mute. That would be perfect.
Mine doesn't want to mute, so what I'm gonna do?
You know what? I can mute you.
Well, go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody. If you need to ask a question, just unmute yourself.
Betty Bates.
Hi, Miss Bates.
Hi.
Lydia Flores.
I have you, Miss Flores. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm in the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
All right. Shannon, where did
Roseanne.
you go? Did you say me, Melissa? Yeah, I said, I know I saw you a minute ago. Oh, there you're right in front of me.
I am here. Good morning.
I was like, I know I saw you a minute ago.
Miss Anderson.
Yes, I got. I have you down, Miss Anderson. Thank you.
Do you have Wanda Leonard down?
I do.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Good morning, Melissa.
Hi, who's that?
Verda.
Hi, Miss Verda.
You doing okay?
I am.
Good.
I got this going.
Huh?
Good morning. Good morning. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I'm Beth Hunter, yes.
What does it say on the back?
Did you hear me?
All right, ladies, I'm getting ready to go ahead and mute everybody.
I'm Betty Hunter. Did you hear me?
I got you,
Can
Miss
you hear
Hunter.
me?
Yes, Miss Hunter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is this thing? What is that? Speaker. Oh, that's a speaker. How did you mute it? She muted.
All right.
She muted.
So, Shannon, I'm going to go ahead. All right, ladies, I'm going to go ahead and mute make sure your phone is mute. If not, I muted you. If you have any questions, we can definitely raise your hand, or we could take the questions, unmute yourself to ask any questions. And I am going to turn it over to Ms. Shannon Gore, and she will introduce our presenter for today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shannon Gore. I'm the director of the Caregiver Support Program, and I'm so honored to be here with you all today. And I have the pleasure of introducing Miss Reverend Regina Franklin Basie. She has served as a licensed nursing facility administrator since 1990. Following the death of her mother in 2003, she surrendered to her call into God's ministry. Upon completion of her seminary studies at Perkins School of Theology at SMU and completion of her ministry ordination process. In 2003, she founded the Remembering Mom, the Barbara Franklin Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing support services to families enduring the death of a mother. served over 800 family members in the DFW community and many others globally throughout the World Wide Web for 14 years. Tina recently began her Doctorate of Ministry program at Bright Divinity at Texas Christian University. Her dissertation focus is to create a best practice cultural end-of-life program as residents, patients, parishioners begin preparing for the final season of life. And I will hand it over to you, Reverend Regina. We are happy to have you.
I'm gonna unmute myself. Thank you so much, Shannon, and also Melissa, and thank you both for inviting me to share and to present today. I'm really honored. I always enjoy having an opportunity to just share and talk about some of these important matters that do make a difference in the lives of individuals. So we'll get started. And I want this to be a lightweight conversation. End-of-life care topics usually leave us feeling vulnerable, sometimes overwhelmed, sometimes sad and lonely. And so I want to dispel those myths. And let me first say, today is Thursday, and my HOA, they mow the lawns on Thursday. So if you're hearing background noise with the lawnmower, that's what's happening there. And then my dog Emmy is next to me on her pillow. And Emmy usually only barks during presentations or class lectures. So if you hear Emmy barking, that's usually just her usual way of saying I'm here. So Emmy, say hi to everybody. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to talk a little bit today about preparing and getting our affairs in order. And that's a topic that can take on numerous layers. And in fact, I could probably be here with you through tonight, but I'm going to make the presentation brief so that you have some key takeaway points that I want you to think about for yourselves, for your family, and also for the folks that you sit with and for their families as well. And it's interesting because as individuals and certainly as Americans, most of us, we usually plan ahead for things. We plan ahead for major expenses. Some of y'all probably prepared and planned for college, for yourselves, for your children, for your grandchildren. Talked about retirement. You planned for housing, for purchases, for renovations and repairs. You planned your finances. Talked about stock options and savings and investments. So with that, most of us tend to think about planning. But one of those topics that we usually are not comfortable with is preparing for the final season of life. Most people just simply don't want to go there. Leaves us again feeling vulnerable, lonely, and sometimes overwhelmed. So I want us to start thinking about, at some point our lives are going to end. And the pandemic certainly has proven that we can be healthy today, have a life-changing illness that tailspins out of control, causes us overwhelming illness, sickness, and possibly even death. But before then, I hope y'all have pen and paper in front of you. I want you for a minute to just stop and reflect on your family. I want you to think about one or two people who you are closest to. That might be your spouse, might be your children, might be your daughter, might be your son, might be your grandchildren, might be your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law. But I want you to stop for a minute and I want you to write down two names.
No, I muted.
Just write those two people who you are closest to. Following those two names, I want you to write in just a couple of words or a couple of sentences why you're close to those people. It might be your family, it might not be, it might be dear friends. Okay, has everyone, you can nod. I'm watching so I can see if you have completed that little portion of this exercise. Just write down the people that you're closest to, okay? So going back to my comment earlier about most people not wanting to prepare for the end of life, there's a study by, it's a group called Healthy Affairs. They did a study, they did several studies over the course of a couple of years, including over 800,000 people. From that 800,000 population of people, only 36% of them had completed advanced directives. A very small percentage, about 29%, had completed living wills. So that's the healthcare portion that we all need to think about. The importance of completing our directives before life's end, how important it is. I'm gonna read a story to you. So listen to this story. Reverend Wayne is a 50-year-old married father of 2 adult sons. He is the senior pastor of a 250-member congregation in an urban city near Kansas City, Kansas. He is well respected spiritually, professionally, academically. He does some teaching. He also serves as a politician, as Secretary of State in Kansas. He sits on numerous boards. He is also, again, a seasoned politician holding key leadership positions, not only for the state, but also for several corporations. During a weather-related storm on Friday, April the 13th, 2007, his life tragically was cut short during a weather-related auto accident. Riding in the rear passenger seat of a limousine, headed to the airport, where he was going to Florida to preach a sermon for a congregation and a convention awaiting his powerful messages, his life was cut short by an 18-wheeler truck that hydroplaned, crashing into his side of the limousine. He was killed instantly. The accident happened at 9:40 p.m. on a rural Kansas highway. His body was care flighted to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival at this rural hospital. His family members, his wife, his siblings, and his father were concerned about his desires to share his organs if possible. Because the accident was on a rural highway during bad weather, and because he was care flighted to the closest hospital, some 30 miles away, there were no opportunities for organ donation at all. His family made a decision after his body was transported to the funeral home. His family made a decision to prepare and start planning for his funeral, which took place 6 days later. It was a difficult and very stressful experience for everyone in the family, for his wife, for his 2 sons, and for his 6 siblings, his father, and a host of other family members across the country. The cost of funeral expenses suddenly, the casket, the burial, the last-minute costs, was very expensive. The stress of his wife and son selecting his casket felt overwhelming. Coordinating the last-minute details of his funeral was difficult. Notifications of all of his friends, his former colleagues, the politicians he served with, and all the boards that he served with was difficult. A Friday, April 13th weather challenge of ice and sleet caused not only his death, but sheer difficulty and tragedy for all who knew and loved him when he walked here on earth. This is just one story of how difficult things can be when there's no preparation or planning before one's death. I feel vulnerable right now because I just shared with you this incident that happened in my family. Pastor Wayne Franklin was my brother who died tragically at the age of 50 in 2007. So let's think ahead about you and about your family members, and even the family members that you sit with regularly. And I know that the Senior Source and people here in Dallas and the DFW area appreciate your sacrifices for being volunteer caregivers. So today is going to be a day of change. We're all going to be change agents, because when this Zoom call ends, I want you to start doing things a little differently as you think about the final season of your life and those in your family. So I want you to think about some things, and you can make some notes here if you want, but there's a few things I want you to consider. If you experienced a sudden cardiac or a brain event, would you want to be revived? Or would you just simply want to die peacefully? Would you say, you know, I have lived a great life and I am happy and content? If something happens to me suddenly, I choose to die peacefully. Or would you want to endure the difficulty of CPR? I don't know if you've ever been around. I have been an emergency room chaplain, and I have been there when chest compressions physically cause more damage sometimes than it's worth. If you have somebody elderly or somebody whose body is just fragile, and you've got strong men and women doing chest compressions and their bones break and they survive, but then they're weak and they are in pain, is that worth it? Think about it. Would you want to endure CPR? There are so many considerations to think about as we age. Is it worth it to have your life restored, but then you're in pain from the CPR? Is that worth it? That's a question for you. So let's circle back to the thought of those two people that you listed, those people who are the closest to you. If your life is suddenly cut short, if it ends, is your family prepared for that stress? So what I described of my brother Wayne, Pastor Wayne, whose life tragically ended on a Friday night, left his family, his wife and 2 sons, and our extended family in a tailspin. There's a lot to prepare. There's a lot to plan in a very short period of time. We knew that Wayne wanted to be an organ donor. Some of us talk about it, but unless it's documented, it may not happen. So one of the best ways to start just thinking about and engaging with your families is, I don't want you to think about the documentation yet. I want you to think about conversations. There's a social worker in California several years ago who created a concept called the Death Cafe. That's kind of catchy, isn't it? It's kind of a neat name. And the Death Cafe meant, let's get together as a community, small groups, as neighbors, I encourage people to get together for the Death Cafe concept and start talking to your family. You guys, a lot of us are already together. Easter Sunday, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Start having conversations about your desires. What do you wish for yourself? If you were revived after a sudden cardiac event, would you want to be in a vegetative state and lie dormant in a nursing home? Would you want to be tube fed? You know your body and you know yourself. And if the answer to those things is no, then talk about it. Tell your family, if something happened to me, these are my limits. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. Okay, start having those conversations. If the documentation is not present during a sudden cardiac event, at least you can begin to communicate. I already know what her desires were. But if not, then the hospital staff and the family members that gather or on the phone are really stressed, trying to make overwhelming decisions at the last minute. That is hard. Think about those two people that you love so much. Do you want to put them through that kind of stress? Most of us would say no. If something happens to me, I have 2 children. My daughter just graduated from high school a few weeks ago. I have a 14-year-old son. I don't want to leave them or my siblings to have to make some real difficult choices and decisions. So I'm going to do my best to always keep my documentation updated. So while most of us don't want to think about it and don't want to plan ahead, one of the key points I want you to remember is that the planning ahead, guess what it does? The planning ahead gives you first choice. Say, I love myself enough that I'm going to make sure if something happens that everybody knows what I want and what I don't want. Otherwise, other folks are going to be making decisions for you, and those decisions may not be what you want. So you say, I love myself enough that I'm going to go ahead and pre-plan and prepare and make lists and share with my family what I want, what I don't want. So when you're gathered and having these death conversations, they can be as easy and as gentle, again, around the holiday table or on a Sunday. A lot of us get together for Sunday dinners.
She ain't doing nothing anyway, like getting a massage.
I encourage people to, some of y'all still have tape recorders. Get a fresh tape, put it in, turn on the tape recorder and just record the conversation. Later on, you have the voices of your beloved, and your family has your voice, but having conversations around the table and recording those are powerful because then you have it right there. If you don't want somebody taking notes, just get the tape recorder out. So preparing and planning ahead means I have my choices and my desires listed and honored. You also want to think about your family members, those that you're closest to, and then think about your extended family. Do you want to leave them with the stress of last minute funeral planning, of trying to wonder and figure out if he or she, or if you wanted to be an organ donor? As much of these things as you can talk about now, list, plan, and prepare, the better off you will be, but the better off everybody in your family will be. Talk about those plans. If you want to be, some people just say, you know what? I would be okay being in a nursing home because I'm a warm body and my family could still come and visit me. But if you say, nope, my quality of life would be decreased, that's not what I want, then you need to make that known to other people. Documentation, our advance directives, that's what's really important. With the advance directive process, you have an opportunity to select what we call healthcare proxy or healthcare advocate. Who is your advocate? You want to pick, I usually encourage families to pick 2 or 3 people. You list them on the documentation, on the documented form. You can call your doctor. You can even Google it and get a form online. Go to your doctor's office. They have them. The hospital that you have treatments, they have them. Get your advance directives done. Get 2 or 3 people listed. Make sure you have good phone numbers for them. If there's an emergency, if there's a cardiac, sudden cardiac event, the hospital's going to know who to call. I encourage these documents be stored in a safe place. There is nothing more stressful than trying to find the documents when there's an emergency. So where's that safe place? I've encouraged families over the years, put them in the trunk of your car. Put them in a manila envelope and mark up advance directives. You can keep them in the office, keep them in a safe deposit box. Make sure your doctor's office has copies of them. But that's really important. That advance directive is important. A living will document is also very important. There you state exactly what you want or what you don't want. I don't want to be revived. If my heart stops, y'all, I have been in the emergency room. I was in the emergency room at I won't say which one, but at a Baylor hospital where a grandmother was with her 4 grandchildren, took her to the doctor. She became weak as she was getting out of the car. They transported her to the hospital, and the ER team had to revive her. Like, she died like 6 times, and the family kept saying, no, one more time. No, she died. They revived her. She was breathing on her own, but then she died again. How much of that would you want to survive? Or you say, you know what? God has peacefully called me home. Let me go. Your family needs to know you well enough to know she would not want to endure this. I finally had the physician came in, he'd thrown in the towel and said, Chaplain, we are done. No more reviving, no more CPR. Talk to the family and let them know we're done. So those types of conversations need to be had with you and your family, what you would want or not want. But the living will document.
Yeah. I didn't hit that one you gave me. I didn't hit that one.
That living will document is very important because you can specifically say, I would like to be tube fed. I would still like for my children to come and visit me. Or I would want CPR. I would want to be on a ventilator. If you'd like to be on a breathing machine on a vent, how long? For a couple of days to see if your life sustaining measures can take over. If not, say within 48 hours, if I'm still not breathing on my own, remove life support. Okay, that's what your family needs to know. We need to be very intentional about how much support you would want if something were to happen. You want to talk about your financial affairs. We want to get those in order as well. You want to have your financial wishes documented with a trustee or with the lawyer. Do y'all have money hidden in your homes? Do you have money under your mattress? Is it in a box in the garage? Is there cash hidden somewhere? Who knows about it? And who do you want to have it if you die? Your legal affairs. Think about layers of financial challenges, pending divorce that may have happened, and somebody might need the documentation. Where are the documents? It's a good idea to get a binder. I have several here in my office. It's a good idea to get a binder and keep some of these things in a binder, and you can even mark it, My Final Wishes. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to donate your body to science? You can do that. You can say, hey, UT Southwestern, I know you're a teaching hospital. When I die, I want my family to have a funeral, and then after that, I want my body donated to science. That's a great way to contribute and to give back for the purpose of medical education. You also want to think about planning your service. So I teach death and dying studies at SMU. And one of the very first exercises I have students do is to write their obituary. Some of these folks are, I teach graduate students, so they're still very young, sometimes late 20s, early 30s. Some of them say, I'm not comfortable writing my obituary. And I say, but guess what? You need to go ahead and write it. That's stressful for your family. If your family has to prepare and think, thanks, Emmy, we're all good. That's stressful if your family has to think about writing your obituary right after you've died. They're in a puddle of sadness and grief. And so having to think through the obituary piece is difficult. So if you don't do anything else, sweet girl, write your obituary and share it. Share it with your family. I want you to even think through your service. What do you want people to know about you? Most of us in our families, our children, our grandchildren, when they attend family funerals, they learn a lot of detail they didn't know because we're all storytellers. And so when we have friends and colleagues and pastors share stories, people look at each other and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I was extremely close to my mother, who I named the Remembering Mom Foundation after. My mother moved to Dallas in 2002 when I was expecting my daughter. My mom was in great health and had never been sick a day in her life. My mom helped my older siblings. I have 6 older siblings. Wayne, my brother that I mentioned, was the second oldest born in our family. So when all of my siblings had their babies, and there's 19 in our family, my children are 18 and 19. So when all of my siblings had their children, my mom was there. She was there to help the first month or two, and she was a school teacher, and so she was always able to manage a little time off to help them with their babies, with the coming home from the hospital and getting set up and established. So in 2002, when I announced my pregnancy with my former husband, my mom said, I'm going to sell the house and I'm going to move to Dallas. I was like, that was the greatest gift ever. I was so excited that she was going to be a part of, I didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. That's the one thing in life I wanted to be a surprise. So I didn't know until I was on the table after my C-section that I had a daughter. So my mom was in our home in North Dallas, Preston Hollow, for the first 3 weeks. She stayed, and morning, night, and noon, she helped. So 3 weeks later, she decided, I'm going to go back home to DeSoto. She bought a home in DeSoto. She said, I'm going to go back home and start preparing our first Thanksgiving dinner together. We were so excited. A day and a half later, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang. My landline phone next to my bed. Now, we've all been around long enough to know that when somebody calls at that hour, it's usually not good news. It was 2 days before Thanksgiving. I heard the sound of he identified himself as a police officer. My heart stopped. I knew he wasn't calling to tell me I want a turkey. So I listened, and he asked, are you Regina? Yes, I am. Are you Barbara's daughter? I am. What's going on? He said, we're in your mom's home. She's okay, but she fell and broke her hip. It looks like her hip's broken, he said. So we're going to transport her to Charlton Methodist Hospital. She wanted you to be aware. Now, I am 3 weeks in from my cesarean. I was not supposed to drive for several weeks, but when I got that call at 3 a.m., I woke my husband up at the time and said, you're going to have to take care of Reagan. I've got to get to the hospital to check on my mom. So I go to Charlton. Mom was in surgery when I arrived. She was in good spirits when she came out and in recovery. And I told her, with my healthcare background as a former administrator of long-term care facilities and a couple acute care hospitals as well, I said, don't worry, I have a lot of physician contacts. You're in good shape. So Mom had the surgery, went through rehab for a couple of weeks. And then cognitively, I noticed something's going on. All of a sudden, Mom could not remember my name. She couldn't remember my daughter's name that I'd just given birth to. She even saw Reagan and she called her a boy. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's going on. So fast forward, I was able to call one of my physician friends and I said, my mother is new to Dallas. She doesn't have medically established care. I'd like for you to take over. Something's going on. The hip had begun to hurt again, which was a sign that it wasn't healing. So through several tests over the course of 72 hours, and that was the longest 72-hour period I'd ever endured, I was at her bedside and this physician called me and said, as I was brushing my mom's hair, I'm standing there at the bedside, and he said, I'm so sorry, Regina, your mom is terminal. She has multiple myeloma and she's stage 4. You and your family should begin preparing because she's not going to live long. So there I was with a newborn baby and a terminally ill mother. That was hard work. The good news was that Mom had prepared for her ending. She went to a funeral in Kansas City several years. I'm from Kansas, lived in Wichita, and we had siblings in Kansas City, as I shared earlier. So Mom went to a funeral several years ago, and when she left that funeral, she had wisdom. She was a Proverbs 31 woman, and she said to my sister, at some point, you guys will be faced with the death of your parents. You'll also be faced with the death of your siblings. So I'm going to write out what I'd like for my service. I didn't know that my mom did this, but 2 days before her death, she was in the hospital. She transitioned into different levels of care for about, it was about 8 weeks. So we had a little time to emotionally prepare. But during that time, my sister said 2 days before Mom died, she said, we're fortunate, family. Mom prepared everything. So my sister shared documents of, her burial. She had her funeral expenses all paid for. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So she had everything prepared. Mom also had her obituary written. It was refreshing. She also had her service outlined. I was sad, but also honored to see that she had me and my oldest brother eulogize her. That's the type of pre-planning I want y'all to think about. We oftentimes wait until there's a terminal illness to start thinking about these things. Don't wait. Don't wait until you get a phone call that your beloved is no longer here, that they have died in a car accident. Don't wait until you get that terminal diagnosis that they have 6 to 8 weeks left to live. Start preparing while you're feeling good and while you're energetic, okay? So think about, again, if you want to donate your body to science, think about your service. What do you want people to say about you? We're living our funerals today. As y'all have heard, the poem, The Dash, we have a birthday and we have a death day. And in between those 2 days, there's a dash. So what's happening in the dad is what you're living your life today. So when we think about a service, what songs are meaningful to you? What matters? What songs have been powerful for you? Do you have a favorite song? One of my favorite songs is Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior. And all that I say and do, God, please don't pass me up. Don't pass me by. Remember me. Think of me. Think about, will you be present at your own funeral? Will you have your casket there? Or do you want to be cremated? Your family should know these things ahead of time. Cremation has become more popular. One of the reasons why is because it's more economical. Some people are even today preparing funerals. You can have a funeral, and then you can say to the funeral home staff, we'll have the funeral, and then we'll have them cremated, so that there's no burial cost. The funeral home will loan you a casket. We gather together as community at the funeral home, in the chapel, or at the church. We gather together as a community because the body present, it helps us to actualize the loss. We can hear it, we can read it in a text, but when we go and see, our mind says, yes, death has happened. So you can think ahead of time. If you want to be buried, will you have an open casket or a closed casket? Usually, if that decision's not made, that's up to the family to make that decision. But you can voice your opinion and say, no matter what, I want my casket closed. Or you can say, I want people to see me. So that's something that you need to prepare and kind of have a conversation with others. Are there other elements that you would want? Today, funerals now have become more fun than sadness. In the African American tradition, our funerals are usually very long and they are usually very celebratory. We usually call them a celebration of life service. Think ahead about yours and what it will be like. What elements do you want? Funerals today take on a lot of different meanings. They're not always in the church. They're not always at the funeral home. Sometimes they're even outside at parks, at ocean sides. Some people have, their bodies cremated and sprinkled in the ocean or sprinkled at their favorite park. Some people want their ashes remained in an urn, and they want them presented to their family later. You can think about even a viewing. Do you want people to come by the day before and have a viewing or not? So the funeral service, I really want y'all to invest some time in, and don't wait till you have a diagnosis, terminal diagnosis. Start thinking about it now. It's important because you want your life to matter, and your life does matter, and you want your life to be honored and celebrated. There's also a Jewish tradition called, it's not just in the Jewish tradition, but a lot of the Jewish folks do it, is creating an ethical will. And an ethical will says, I want to leave for the next generation important things that I want maintained in this family. Are there any dreams that are unfulfilled? What advice would you want to carry into the next generation? What promises need to be kept? Some families don't talk about these things. I know CNN recently aired the 100 years after the burning of Black Wall Street in Tulsa. My grandparents were from Tulsa. I wasn't aware of Black Wall Street until just recently, maybe 5 years ago. And I was told that they didn't talk about it and still didn't up until just recently. How important is that in a family legacy? And how would you want to speak into that painful incident to the lives of your grandchildren or great-grandchildren? advice should be shared of how to work interracially, be in community with other people. What advice would you give your grandkids? What advice is important to you? What legacy do you want to leave? What elements of your life do you want to maintain? One of my favorite rituals, whenever I present, preach, or teach, I have a candle lit. Now, I always teach my children, you know, when we light a candle, we are signifying the presence of Christ. I obviously have a very spiritual background, and reading sacred scripture is important to me. I am documenting things now for my daughter, who is moving on from my home to Baton Rouge. She'll be going to LSU in the fall. I'm excited for her, yet sad at the same time, but transitioning her and documenting things that are important is something that's powerful that needs to take place. So in a world of increased complexity, we need to all search for meaning and truth and lessons that we want the next generation, especially our family members, to carry on. We want to carry the torch. I had an Uncle Kenneth who died about 4 years ago in Los Angeles, and I was busy moving, and I didn't think I was going to be able to travel from Dallas to LA for the funeral. But I remember my Uncle Kenneth saying to me at my grandfather's funeral in 2014, my grandfather died at the age of 105. He was in an assisted living facility and was still teaching Sunday school, had his little suit and tie and everything on the bed the night before, and the caregivers walked in the next morning and he was sleeping soundly, slept peacefully into his death. So I remember Uncle Kenneth saying to me at the funeral, "Niece, I'm passing the torch on to you in ministry." Grandpa was a pastor. Uncle Kenneth was a pastor, but he had began aging with signs of Parkinson's that began to debilitate him. So that passing of the baton from my grandfather to my uncle, to my brothers who are pastors, to myself, that's important. That's a legacy I want to definitely carry on. Even if my children never enter ministry, they know that spirituality in this family is important. So I also want you to think about family presentations. What's important in the family to maintain? Jewelry, trophies, awards. Make sure there's some way to present something, and you can do it ahead of time. This is something you can do, but it speaks directly into the power of these relationships in the family. Make sure that if there's something important and meaningful, make sure that it's shared and that it's presented properly. I even like to pray over those presentations. So I'm going to go through a pre-planning checklist. You can take notes if you want. These are some things that I think are important for you to have as a kind of a pre-planning checklist. The funeral home or the crematory. Make sure your family members have access to this information. And if you haven't already, I want you to get in touch with a funeral home provider and talk about your desires, your pre-planning. They will guide you through it. You can make payments on casket or burial over time. And hopefully you all have done that. Your retirement pay information. Where is it? Who has it? Your family will need to know that if something happens to you. Your insurance policies, names of the insurance company, their phone numbers, and their policy numbers. Bank accounts. That information is important and needs to be shared. Safe deposit boxes. Where are they? Does anyone have a key? Usernames and passwords of some of your websites. If there's information that family members will need to know later, make sure that you have listed usernames and passwords. Your house information. Where are the papers for the mortgage or for the rent? If the house is paid off, where's that information? Information for your automobiles, the same. Your automobile insurance, your investments, your medical insurance. If you have an attorney, and if you don't, then you probably should get one and have him or her listed. Your tax preparer, who files your taxes and where and what establishment do you use for your tax prep? All of your credit cards, that information's important. Usernames, passwords, accounts, if you have others on your accounts. Your obituary, again, I want y'all to be intentional while you're healthy, and you guys are a very vibrant community. While you're vibrant, write your obituary. Share it with somebody in your family. If you have newspaper service, that information will need to be listed. And a lot of this information is for your family to contact later for the purpose of cancellation, but you need to develop a list. Any groups or associations, if you're a member of a sorority, I'm an AKA, and it's important for my children to know my SORs and all of that information that is pertinent for me and all of the areas I serve, congregations. Any miscellaneous information, your phones, your internet, your bills, your doctor's office. If you have a pet, the veterinarian will need to be contacted for your pet and for the safety and well-keeping of your pet. Who's going to care for the pet later if something happens to you? And disbursement of property, of course. As y'all can see, there's a lot of information that we can prepare for. There's medical information, there's financial, there's legal, but some of it is just being in conversation with each other as family. Have those death cafe conversations. When you're gathered with family over a Sunday afternoon dinner or a holiday meal, know that you matter. You matter a great deal in your family. So you are worth investing so that they know what your needs and your desires are. I hope this has been helpful. Ms. Shannon, Ms. Melissa, I don't know if there's anything else I can offer, but I don't know if there's any questions, but you know, if you do, feel free to ask. If you want to put a question in the chat, feel free, or
does anybody have any questions? Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
I have a question.
And who's that?
Juanita Kelly.
Okay, Miss Kelly.
You need to see my smiling face or something. Here I am. My question is, because I never could understand the difference between advance directive and a living will.
Okay. The difference is the advance directive is pretty much you identifying who's going to speak on your behalf. So in that advance directive, you're going to list your medical power of attorney. And again, I want you to list 2 or 3 people. And you will list who your contact folks are in the event something tragic happens to you. In the living will, that's where you state directly what you want and what you don't want. If you want to be revived, if you want to be tube fed, if you don't, if you want to be on life support, and if so, how long. The living will is going to really spell out those things those care treatments of what you want or what you don't want. Say, you know what, if it's over, it's over. I want nothing. I just want to die. And you identify, if you want to be in a long-term care facility for your family to continue to visit or not. But the advance directive, I want to point out, is not it is not valid unless you are no longer able to speak for yourself. As long as you're coherent, speak and think clearly, you speak and think clearly and make all of your decisions. But the minute you're incapacitated, that's when these documents become effective.
Thought I saw a hand up a minute ago. It's not. I thought Ms. Holmes, did you have your hand up?
Ms. Kelly, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for the moment. I've been in situations where I've seen things overruled when somebody had these documents, and because the documents weren't with the person, things weren't done. In other words, I'm referring to my husband. He had a do not resuscitate form that was kept with him, but at the time that his grandson called for an ambulance, the EMTs, he didn't know about the oh, come on, don't do that to me now.
Do not resuscitate.
Yeah, and he didn't know where the form was. I was at work. So the EMTs, when they did what they did for him at the house, one of the things being to see his CO2 level, that automatically said that he was to go on a vent. By the time I got to him, it's like going from West Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale. He was on a vent. And I explained to the ER doctor, the nurses, that my husband had signed these papers stating that he did not want to be on a vent. So the fact that they put him on a vent, he had to stay on it for 24 hours, actually 23 hours. Because in that 24th hour, they wanted to see if he could breathe on his own, which he did. But I guess I said all that is it's important for everybody to know what you want done. Because once you hit that ER, you belong to the ER. The ER will do whatever it takes to keep you alive.
Well, even the EMTs, that is their job. That is the ER's job, is to make sure that a life is restored. So it is important for family to know what your desires are. And those situations like you just described, unfortunately, those scenarios do happen a lot. That's why it's important. It's also important that your doctor have copies. But in the course of a true emergency, when paramedics are called, that's what they're going to do, is to attempt to restore life. Unless the person is with them, is extremely knowledgeable and says, no, do not. Don't revive him. Didn't want CPR. He's a DNR. It's documented. So the documentation needs to be there, especially in those types of scenarios. That's helpful. Anybody else?
The person that you choose to speak for you in the event that you can't have to be assertive enough to be able to tell these people, this is not what this person I'm representing wants, because they will try to override you too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ms. Goodwin, you had a question?
Yes, I was told once that you should put your directives and stuff in an envelope and put them on the refrigerator marked so that they're able to locate those papers right away. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, wherever that place is. For me, it's in the trunk of my car, in the back of my SUV, in an envelope, on the refrigerator, just wherever you decide, just make sure that you communicate it so that when stress happens, everybody knows where to look and where to grab it from. That's a great idea. Keep it on the refrigerator. Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Just make sure it's kept in a safe place. I also have a file cabinet in my garage. My children know there are important documents in that file cabinet and they know where to look for them. So wherever you designate, just make sure that everybody knows where the location.
Ms. Greger, did you have a question? Oh, you're on mute. Take it off mute. There you go.
Okay, I was wondering, could you go over again the difference between an advance directive and a living will?
Yeah, so your advance directives, you're going to be appointing your medical power of attorney. And you would put in the advance, and so with the living will, you are outlining specific treatment options or not. Do not revive, do not resuscitate me, or resuscitate me and put me on a vent, keep me on a vent for 48 hours. I'd like to be tube fed. Your directive, I don't want to say it's lightweight because it's not, but you are outlining your medical power of attorney and general, very general options for care. But in your living will, that's more of the life and death, do or do not do, pertaining to resuscitation. And it's pertaining to resuscitation, but also deeply into some of those other caregiving issues. But your advance directive, you are going to be appointing the people who you fully trust to make decisions on your behalf when you can no longer speak for yourself.
Ms. Goodwin, you have another question?
I do. Do these documents need to be notarized?
Not notarized, but they need to be signed, they need to be witnessed. Now, they should not be witnessed by direct family members or by staff of a hospital or a long-term care facility where you live or reside, or it needs to be witnessed by people who really don't know you. For example, if let's say your grandmother is in a long-term care facility and she decides she's going to complete her directives, you would want them witnessed by a visiting family member or a vendor who has absolutely no relationship with her whatsoever. A generic witness, but not by family and not by a caregiver ever.
Is there any other questions? Ms. Greger, did you still have a question? You're on mute.
I was also going to say, I'm sorry, Shannon, with these documents, if there are any updates, if there are any changes, it's a good idea at least every year or two to revisit these documents. Sometimes we change our minds and say, I thought I wanted to be revised. I don't now. Make sure you change it and make sure your physician, and even if you have specialists, make sure your specialty physicians have copies as well.
Hello.
You have a question, Ms. Greger?
Yes, I do. I was wondering if you have given someone power of attorney, how binding is that? It was my understanding that upon death, power of attorney goes away.
That gets into some legal issues that you would need to really seek the advice from an attorney on that. If it's a legal medical power of attorney or a legal document that's being signed, an attorney would really need to speak into that, whether or not their service in that role is null and verified after. So I would encourage you to get some legal advice on that one.
Okay, is there such a thing as a general power of attorney?
Your medical power of attorney is general. Give me an example of maybe what you're referencing with that question.
Well, I'm not sure. It's just that if someone has a power of attorney, is it true that upon death, no matter what that power of attorney says, it goes away upon death?
But what do you mean it goes away? Because if the person's dead, then what else is there to do?
It's no longer valid.
But if the person is deceased, what are you seeking to validate, I guess?
I don't know. It's just one of my children has power of attorney. And as I said, it was said to me that once you die, that power of attorney is no longer legal. It's void and null, in other words. Is that true?
In essence, that's true. There is no more decisions or authority that could be made because life has ceased. You know, if it gets into some legal issue with burial or with rights over cremation, you know, that gets to be a little tricky there. But you know, if a person is deceased, there are no more decisions to be made. The only remaining decisions would be of body disposition. And hopefully, and I encourage y'all to even list, you know, what your options are, what your desires are. Some people are adamant, do not cremate me. I don't want to be burned. I don't want my body burned. Others are like, cremate me because it's easier. Financially, it's much more cost effective. It's also more ecologically friendly on the earth to not continue to deposit people in the ground. So just make sure those options and your desires are also listed in your directives.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. When you was saying about the directives that needs to be signed and witnessed, not to have anybody from your medical team, does that include the receptionist as well?
It really should not be staff. It should not be staff. It should be, you know, visitors, vendors.
Well, you know, that kind of makes it difficult because
it does. Yeah, of course it does, and it's supposed to, because it makes it a little challenging. Always look for visiting family members, friends who are there to visit other people, but no one associated with the actual caregiver. The receptionist could, if there's no one else to sign it, the receptionist could. It cannot be a caregiver. Can it be a nurse aide who's going to eventually render aid? Can't be a nurse, can't be their respiratory therapist. You know, that's those direct caregivers is what you want to steer clear away from. The receptionist, if you can't find anybody else, then definitely, but you know, look for the outsider and the person that does not is not employed at that location.
Okay.
I know it makes it a little tough, and that's just trying to steer clear of legalities that can arise that make it difficult.
Okay, let me ask you this. I stay in the senior citizens complex.
Okay.
Could I have one of the residents of the senior citizens complex sign it?
That would be okay.
Okay. That's a good thing. Because I'm doing a new one for my current doctor, so you know.
Okay.
All righty, thank you.
As long as you're not related.
No relation, none whatsoever.
Okay.
There's a difference between a personal power of attorney and a medical power of attorney. One has to do with the medical part of your life, and the other has to do with your financial whatever.
Yeah, there's your financial and your medical documents are separate. Those are separate documents. That's why I was saying earlier, contact a trustee or contact an attorney. But those are separate documents, and you might want to have separate people sharing in decisions related to finance and your medical decisions.
And whoever's on your chart if you're in the hospital, whoever's on your chart as a next of kin is the person that they go to first when something goes awry. Because I know my son was in the hospital and he died, but because my grandson was named as his next of kin, the body had to be released to my grandson and not myself. Even though my son wasn't married. So it can get a little sticky icky.
It can. Absolutely.
All right. If anybody has any other kind of questions, just forward them to me.
I
Give me a
have
call.
a question.
Okay.
This is Ms. Purifoy.
Yes, Ms. Purifoy.
Yes. My question is, which is best, the pre-funeral arrangement or insurance? Just had an insurance, or just do a pre-arrangement for the funeral?
Well, I think you would need to compare with the prearranged situation. You can select. You can make several with the insurance. You'd have to see what they are actually providing. So then you want to do a comparative analysis and look at both before you make decisions. I would just compare and see what you're paying for. What is the insurance company going to provide, or the insurance bulk pack, whatever you have, or if you just do your own pre-arrangement, you can pick and choose. It's kind of like you can do a la carte, where you can pick and select only a few things, but not the entire package. So you want to definitely have time and be intentional about comparing.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question.
Ms. Jones?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Jones.
Hello?
Yes, Ms. Jones.
Yeah, okay. My question may seem a little silly, but
no silly question.
I've been pondering. I've been listening attentively, and I've made my mind up that I'm going to be cremated. And I want to go back to my hometown. So for economical reasons, I'm going to be cremated and transferred there. And I want to be sprinkled on my mom and dad's grave at our home place. So would I need to find out whether I have to get permission from that city there to be sprinkled? Usually they sprinkle in the water out of airplanes and that kind of stuff. But is there any stipulation or directive you can give me to find out whether it's okay to be sprinkled on my parents' grave?
I would. That's so endearing, and that really warms my heart to think about that. And I appreciate you for your intentionality and your willingness to share it. I would start with the funeral home and discuss it with them and find out in whatever city or state they're in, what their regulations and guidelines are for that purpose. Because every city, every state, and every cemetery has their own rules and regulations that are governed by the state. But I would start there.
Oh, thank you. I hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right. Is there any other questions? All right, so what, if you do come up with any questions that you may have, definitely just forward them on to me and I will definitely get them to to Reverend Regina and make sure that she gets them and she can respond back to us. We do, like I said earlier, we do send a newsletter out every 2 weeks. So if you have something you would like for us to add, definitely feel free to send that to us as well.
And
but again,
I'm sorry,
yes.
Miss Melissa and Miss Shannon, I will send you just a bullet point so that you can add in your newsletter.
Okay, that would be perfect. Thank you so much. And this is very enlightening. I mean, I know it's, you know, as any subject that has to deal with death, it's kind of grim, but it's good that you start preparing and seeing this. I actually have all my stuff done and I'm not even 50 yet. So I, you know, was way ahead of getting things done just in case. So definitely, you know, think about it. It's time to think because it is hard for the family. That's the main thing. It is hard for the family. They're grieving them. And then you got to think about what flowers you're going to use. You know, it's just kind of hard to do that. So definitely, if you have questions, send them on and we will get those answered for you. Ms. Shannon or anybody have any comments? Ms. Jane?
No, just thank you all for allowing us to have Reverend Regina come in and have this discussion. We know it's very taboo when it's hard and we're just appreciative, and it was important for us to, you know, have this conversation. So I hope we all learned and, you know, we'll be proactive if we haven't already, because it's good information to just utilize and put forth and be proactive about it.
All right, ladies.
Thank you. Oh, thank y'all so much. Thank you for listening to my stories about my mom and my brother. And I use those as examples of ways that we can all, you know, everything we do is a learning example that we can share and pass on to others. So thank y'all for listening, and I wish you all well.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care. God bless everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Bless.
All right.
Thank you. God bless.
Bye.
All right, nobody leave yet. We still have our in-service. So just some kind of, you don't have to stay in Reverend Regina, but you can if you want. All right, we're gonna continue our in-service. It's not gonna be very long left. Our July birthdays are Miss Golf is gonna be July 2nd. Miss Matthews is the 14th. Miss Webb is the 19th. Miss Cornell is the 20th. Miss McAfee is 22nd, and Miss Giles is the 27th of July. So we do have some July birthdays to celebrate. So if you know them, give them a call, tell them happy birthday. July 22nd, we're going to be doing another presentation that is Keeping the Keys program. We did have some people actually participate in the class several months ago, and they were really did enjoy the class. So we want to make sure that we do present that information for you. So she is with AAA Texas, and she will be talking about how we can keep our keys safely and how we can go by doing that. And then newsletters are going out this week, so you should be getting your newsletter. And remember the workbook we learned about last week or 2 weeks ago about the Alzheimer's workbook. So you should be getting that as well. So you're going to have 2 different envelopes. Just be on the lookout for that because we will have those. If you have not turned in timesheets, I'm still missing some. Please turn that in if you haven't done so. And then I am going to play. Yes, somebody had a question?
I do.
Yes.
If on the timesheet, you said we don't have to put the in services because you already know that.
Right.
Okay, so in my situation where my client passed away.
You just sign it and send it.
And if I don't do nothing else.
Yep.
Well, the Zoom class.
Yeah, you don't even need to do any training. You don't need to put on there. It's only direct service. So I have a lot of them that are just 0. just signed and sent.
Okay.
Yep.
Will you be sending stamped envelopes?
You should have got your timesheets last week, and there were stamped envelopes in there.
Okay, I'll look in. I haven't been in my mailbox. I think
Yeah,
nobody.
you should have. Yeah, you should have got your timesheets, and they had envelopes already marked in there.
Yes. I did not get my timesheet.
You might want to double check because they all went out last week. And double check and then let me know.
Okay, if they went out last week, I haven't received anything.
And who is that? Is that Miss Jackson? Is that Miss Jackson
Maxine.
talking?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
okay, Maxine. Maxine. Okay. I will resend them. Okay. All right. So
Over into
pretty much that is it. I'm gonna play a video. You know, like kind of like to share information. And we really did have a historical moment that just passed. And do you know what that is?
yes,
New holiday.
Correct. Right, the
June
new holiday. Right. It was a very historical moment. You know, a lot of people for a very long time has fought for this holiday, even though in Texas we kind of had it as a state holiday, but now it's recognized as a national holiday. So that's very important to think of it as a national, you know, and compared to state. So I'm going to just play this video for you and let me know if you can make sure you can hear it. This one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
can't see it.
Throughout history,
Can't see it?
has been known
Yeah,
as
No.
See it. Okay, hold on.
Day.
Let me see. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, come on. Do you see
You see it now. I see it
okay.
now.
Okay, perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Zoom.
Good afternoon.
Can hardly hear it. Can hardly hear it.
Juneteenth has been known by many names. Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day, and today, National Day.
What do you say?
All right, we're going back to bed. I said good night. And looking out across this room, I
It's
see
on
the
there.
advocates, the activists,
Now I can't hear it at all.
leaders.
That's very low, very low.
I have it at the loudest, so you might turn up the volume on your phone.
Huh? No. They ring our bell before you open the door.
We just received a very special recognition from the President of the United States. And I see members of Congress, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, members of the United States Senate who passed this bill unanimously. And all of whom collectively were responsible for delivering this bill to the president's desk. And I thank you all. We thank you all, your nation. Thanks you all. And you know, when we establish a national
Oh boy,
holiday,
my phone
it makes
hurts.
an important statement.
Anybody hear
National
me?
holidays are something important. These are days when we as a nation have decided to stop and take stock, and often to acknowledge our history.
It's still very low.
That's the loudest it's gonna get. You might need to turn it up on your phone.
National holiday
It's all the way up.
about what happened on June 19th.
I can't hear it either, Melissa.
Because you see, that day was not.
Well, I have it sharing on sound.
It's very low. And my volume is all the way up.
Yeah, that's why I keep muting people saying I'm not gonna hear. Let's see.
My volume is up and I can't hear anything.
On that day,
can y'all hear me now?
people in Galveston, Texas, learned that they were free. But in fact, 2.5 years earlier, the Emancipation Proclamation ended slavery in the Confederacy. Think about that. For more than 2 years, the enslaved people of Texas were kept in servitude. For more than 2 years, they were intentionally kept from their freedom. For more than 2 years. And then on that summer day, 156 years ago, the enslaved people of Texas learned the news. They learned that they were free, and they claimed their freedom. It was indeed an important day. And still, let us also remember, that day was not the end of slavery in America. The truth is, it would be 6 more months before the 13th Amendment was ratified, before enslaved people in the South and the North were free. So as we commemorate the history of Juneteenth, as we did just weeks ago with the history of the Tulsa Race Massacre, we must learn from our history, and we must teach our children our history, because it is part of our history as a nation. It is part of American history. So let me end by saying this. We are gathered here in a house built by enslaved people. We are footsteps away from where President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And we are here to witness President Joe Biden establish Juneteenth as a national holiday. We have come far, and we have far to go, but today is a day of celebration. It is not only a day of pride, it is also a day for us to reaffirm and rededicate ourselves to action. And with that, I say, happy Juneteenth, everybody. And with that, I introduce the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
So I just wanted to kind of play that for you, she being a historical vice president, first African American vice president, female, and her introducing the Juneteenth. It was kind of impressive and monumental. A lot of people, like I said, had done a lot for this holiday. So I just wanted to share that with you. Again, we'll have another speaker for our 22nd. Keep the keys. If you see talk to the people, tell them happy birthday. If you have any questions about what the speaker asked, or if you have any questions, send them over to me and we'll get those answered for you. And newsletters will be going out this week. So any other questions? Anybody?
This week or next week?
What? Yes, who was that?
The newsletter.
Uh-huh.
This week or next week?
This week, I'll be mailing them out today or tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yep.
know when to look for it.
I have a
Yeah.
question about
Yes.
this go on the YouTube. Will that historical moment be also included
Uh-huh.
in that?
Yep,
Okay.
it's on recording right now, so it'll be on there as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right, ladies. Well, y'all stay safe, stay out of the heat, drink lots of water, take care of yourselves, and we will see you in about 2 weeks.
All right.
All right, ladies. Y'all have a
Okay.
good one. Oh,
You too.
one more thing. We will be closed. I'm sorry for especially those that are on my advanced Zoom. I didn't realize we are closed on Monday and Tuesday. So the offices are closed Monday and Tuesday. So we'll have to reschedule that one. I just found out that we are closed Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. Then next week.
All Mondays and all Tuesdays?
No, just this Monday and Tuesday for the 4th of July holiday.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then we will be going to summer hours, and starting next Friday, our offices will close at 2:00.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
y'all have a good one. Y'all be safe.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
as well.
Bye.
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 Miss Kelly, you wanted to speak, Rita Kelly, you wanted to talk to me?
Yes.
Okay, just let's get everybody off. I'm glad you were able to get on there, Miss Greger.
What was she able to get on?
I helped her get on fix her tablet.
Oh, I need some help too.
You're on mute, Miss Greger.
Oh, I'm on mute. Okay.
No, Miss Greger's on mute. I see her talking,
okay.
but she's on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.